This is the continual evolution of the East Coast beat. It's night, it's dark, my hands ache. I can still listen to the violins. I can still listen to the rise, the silence, the fall. But what have these hands done since the last time I asked? What circles have I been in? How many concrete carnivals and friendly street performers have I met along the way? But at 51, in my hands, I never learned to play the violin, and I can't hold you. I have neither of these, and these both are a mystery to my now humming mind. Today I saw some kid litter. Thanks for adding that special touch to the scene. I've been to the corner market. I got a pack of smokes, coffee creamer, milk, and honey nut flake cereal. The apartment was quiet, so at night I sat, I stood, I sang, I swayed, and I danced. Catch you on the other side. The continual evolution of the East Coast beat. One of the first memories that I have was when I was in kindergarten. I went to a Department of Defense school because my dad was in the Army. And in kindergarten, they had somebody put on a performance of The Jungle Book. Now I don't remember too much of the story, and I've seen newer versions, and I've seen tried to watch the older, and I've read certain versions, but I don't know if I've read the original Rudyard Kipling one. Um, but I've come to see the Jungle Book as a um, okay. I didn't. I can't tell you what kind of shoes kids were wearing back then, and I don't know what was popular on TV. Um, but when I saw the Jungle Book, that was like my introduction to okay, there's everyday life, and then there's a higher sense of what life could be. Yes, it's all theater, it's all play, and it's performance, but it's the best of what life could be. The whole struggle of life is told in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and there's music and dancing and there's costumes and there's sets, and people have spent hundreds or thousands of hours getting it ready for this, and they hope to take it on tour, and um, I saw that when I was in kindergarten, and it opened my mind up. Okay, I was one of those kids. As I've gone along through life, the first couple of older people I've met, I would ask them questions about money. Hey, how much money, like, what's a good paying job? Not that I wanted to do it, not that just, hey, what's a good paying job? Because I was concerned about making money. How much does this pay? How much does this cost? How much do I need to make to have this? I was thinking about that at a young age. When, and I still think about that at this age, but it's like I don't have it. So I buy a lottery ticket every now and then and fantasize about winning 19 million, 68 million, 232 million. But what would I do with that? I don't know. I'd find a pretty chill little pad somewhere and just do what I do. You know what I'm saying? But what can be done, like I said, take care of my environment. So, uh, What have my hands done? That was a question that I originally asked when I was like 19, 18, 19. When I was about 19, I got divorced from my ex-wife, or, that's who you get divorced from. So I got divorced from my ex-wife, and I started hanging out with some soldiers, and one in particular, and we would go out drinking and dancing with the locals and stuff. And I started writing poetry. I had written a couple of times when I was younger. Like, I've written short stories and tried to write a big book. I think the most I ever got was like 16 pages worth, and I was trying to write the 600-page novel. You know what I'm saying? But I'd written a couple of short stories, but never really like poetry. Not like, and the part in the beginning was it always rhymed, but that wasn't the poetry that I wanted. That what I mean. Nothing against poetry that always rhymes. I mean, I like it and it's clever. You know what I'm saying, and it is intelligent. But I wanted to be able to express an emotion that wasn't caught by such a rapid meter, you know what I'm saying? AABB, AABB, or you know what I'm saying, however you want to do your little rhyme scale. But I wanted to be able to express myself outside of that, the boundary of couplets, or, things like that. So years later I was able to, but same thing when I first started singer songwriting at the open mics. It was very easy for me to write songs that rhyme. It was, I mean, I only know seven chords. I'm not a guitar player to that level, but I know a couple chords, and I was learning how to sing along to them, and I would just do it at the open mics. But it was easier for me to rhyme. But sometimes when I write, I break the rhythm easily, and I just flow. So that's kind of, the thing. Like, what did I do today? Well, I went to the corner market, but how did I get there? Well, I'm half crippled, so I kind of shimmied and swayed and almost fell down once or twice, and I had to wait till there was absolutely no traffic on the road to make it across so I didn't get hit. But yeah, that's how, that's just my walk. Like I said, my life's dangerous nowadays. I might as well be, in a hotel room with a Hungarian hit woman, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how dangerous my life is. Um, but I went to the corner market, and, I thought, well, what do I want to eat tonight? Because I've been eating, one of my neighbors gave me a bunch of falafels that were spinach falafel wraps, like frozen. And I was eating a bunch of that for a while. It was pretty good. I wish I had some. I kept thinking I should go get some tomatoes and make like some kind of sauce for it. Maybe it would have definitely added to the sandwich. But I don't. I just never got around to it. Like I said, sometimes when I want something, most of the time I won't give it to myself immediately. I'll wait a long time. Sometimes 3 months, sometimes 6 years. Sometimes, I mean, there's things I've waited for that I still haven't got. But you know what? I'm still waiting. Why? Because that's what I wanted. Something was offered to me that I wanted, and I tried to get it. And I didn't get it back then, but I might get it now. You know what I'm saying? So I wait. I mean, I do other things in the meantime, but I mean, there's still, you know, things I've done and people I've met in my past that I'm not afraid of. The way I did my little business with my partners and stuff, I'm not afraid of stuff like that. I didn't do nobody wrong. I didn't fuck nobody's girl or wife or baby mama. I did not do none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times people would say what they wanted to say, but at the same time, hey, I was just there for the tattoo. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you were doing there. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but like I said, I mean, to be holy in the church, the word holy is to be both what they would call the of base man desire, of base flesh desire, to be of both man desire and to be able to be willing to submit to be called to a higher level and to ascend to that level. To not, I mean, I have no concept of what true righteousness is or anything like that. I mean, I've just been, ever since I was a kid, I've just been struggling. I mean, hustling and struggling to get my little, my little 5x5. And when I get my meals, I eat. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes when I have fridge full of food, I notice I don't eat because I'd rather have the fridge full of food than a full belly. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's the whole thing. Like I said, I mean, I'm getting older. I move a lot slower. I sleep a lot longer. I miss the bus a lot more than I used to, but I still gotta, get around. And like I said, I still gotta show up places and let them know, hey, whatever little game, everybody think, 8 billion people got this idea of what the game is. And I'm like, whatever these people think their game is let it be what it is. But where I volunteer with homeless people, a lot of homeless people. It's supposed to be a mental health clinic, but they're searching the homeless population for mentally ill, and so they figure that anybody that's homeless probably has a mental illness. And like I said, from the way a lot of them act, I can understand what they're saying. But out of the homeless, the ones that get housing don't act like a lot of the homeless. You know what I'm saying? So I've noticed that over the years. Like I said, I show up and I'm an example. What do? I sit there when they're having a meeting. If there's a question that I really need to ask, I ask. But I'm not insulting workers. I'm not trying to hit on them. I'm not holding onto their hand too long. I'm not trying to corner them in a corner so I can feel like a man pushing up on a woman. Hey, these are, married county workers, and and the last thing they want to do is get into it with some homeless guy that probably slept in his own urine soaked Levi's last night, that he found at the bus stop that were dirty when he found them, you know what I'm saying? So, like I said, how do I look at it? I mean, there was a point where I was living out of the back of my truck, for days at a time. And, cleaning up at the Denny's and, stuff like that. Um, while I was in the welding program, I just needed freedom, you know. I needed to get as far away from everything that I knew and try to figure out, like I said back then, I was trying to figure out how can I make enough money to get a nice little house and a car, maybe even a backup, like a truck and a car in case I want to go camping, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can I make that kind of money? And between that and what I saw going on the streets for what people were doing for money, what can I say? So, like I said, it's we are when man is holy, he is both the good and the bad of man. He knows both. He understands the concept of wanting to protect and being so, violent and angry, wanting to hurt, or to the point of indiscriminate, I just take a baseball bat and if he comes out, I'll just baseball bat him while I'm at baseball batting his car because he slept with my old lady, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, that's how I think humanity works. Like you get comfortable, anything that bothers your comfort takes you to your limit. Eventually, if it's continual, it'll take you to your limit. And then what is man capable of? When you go to the movies, what do you see? When you watch TV, what do you see? You know, what is man capable of? What is he fed? Well, what does he pay money to escape reality, to go watch some sniper movie where some guy kills 112, foreign soldiers rescuing a CIA agent that went down in a helicopter crash? Or, some superhero movie, where, I don't even know anymore. I don't watch movies anymore. Um, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I've been to the movies and I've even worked at the movies and I enjoy the movies. But when I was a kid and they first came out with the original Superman movies and we had Batman on TV, those were great. And I thought, oh wow, with all the CGI, these are going to get better and better. But after a while, it just kind of took away from it. Too many different this, too many different takes, too many slight breaks from the kind. Not that I need the movies to be made like the comics, but sometimes when I hear how the comics did it, I'm like, oh, I like the way the comics were better. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's the whole thing. Who are they making the movie for? 280 are, they're making the movie so that 96 million people will watch it, not me, you know. So the continual evolution of the East Coast beat, like I said, at night, what is there to do? What is there to do? So much. Sing, sway, dance, call a friend. If you don't have a friend, pet your pet. If you don't have a pet, remember the times when you did. Find something to occupy yourself. Try to make yourself better. If you think you have a problem, if there's a problem in your life, fix that problem. And then when you fix that problem, if there's another problem, fix it. And then but in between your little problems, take time to, you know, me, what I do, I take buses now. I don't drive. So I get to watch, I get to look at all the little houses along the route. I get to see the park. I can look around and see who's in the park. Oh, do I want to go to the park today? When the bus is rolling by. I get all the time in the world. I take the bus to the little weed shop and then I roll a little blunt and smoke it and wait for the bus. So I get on the bus, just blazed and we go rolling. It takes 35 minutes for me to get back from the weed shop to my house after if I take the bus. And I just look at the houses and I see how some of these people put so much effort into their little house and they keep their cars clean, they keep their yards clean, and then all of a sudden it's like you see some fucking 15-year-old kid throwing trash on the ground. And it's like, bro, what the fuck have you ever done? And what has life ever done to you? First of all, his clothes were pretty nice. Plus, he had enough money to buy an ice cream to throw the fucking wrapper on the ground. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, whatever, bro. Everybody talking about, oh, fucking this city sucks. It's so fucking shitty. And then you're fucking throwing trash on the ground. You know? Anyway, like I said, because I've been, so what is everyday zazen? What is everyday meditation? Or zazen, as they say. Zazen is the sitting meditation. So Zen meditation is sitting meditation, but there's three other ways that one can meditate. You can lie, you can sit, you can stand, and you can walk. So a little daily meditation, you know. Like I said, I go to the corner market. I get my milk, I get my cereal. I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be great. Walk outside. I see some kid with like some of his friends just littering in the parking lot, being too cool. And it's like, bro, what have you ever done? And what will you ever do? This is Gaia, Mama Gaia. This is Mama Earth. And this is your grandmother and your aunts and uncles and me and every other stranger you don't know now have to watch your trash just float down the fucking street. You know what I'm saying? You had enough money to buy the ice cream. I mean, in my city, not everybody has enough money to buy ice cream. You know what I'm saying? So you have enough money to buy ice cream and then you just litter. That's horrible. That's horrible. The continual evolution of the East Coast beat.